Je suis peintre. L'homme intéressé par ma fille est milanais. Nous partons là-bas si le portrait lui plaît. Il a épuisé déjà un peintre avant vous.
Que s'est-il passé?
Je ne sais pas.
Et vous êtes où?
Ça fait des années que je rêve de faire ça. Mourir. Courir.
Vous allez devoir la peindre sans qu'elle le sache. Il pense que vous êtes une compagne de promenade pour quelques jours.
Que savez-vous de mon futur mariage?
Rien.
C'est tout ce que j'en sais aussi. Quand allez-vous vous marier?
Je ne sais pas si je vais me marier.
C'est parce que vous pouvez choisir que vous ne me comprenez pas.
Je vous comprends. Quand vous êtes embarrassé, vous mordez vos lèvres.
Vraiment. Quand vous êtes troublé, vous respirez par la bouche.
Combien de temps restez-vous?
Je ne sais pas. J'ai un nouveau sentiment. Le regret.
Quel en est le titre? Portrait de la jeune fille en feu.
All right. We heard more music in that trailer than than the characters in this movie did for the first 18 or something years of their lives.
Not wrong.
That slap though, like the part where they're all at the fire and it's like dun 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 dun, dun and they're all just doing it and I don't know, we don't build tracks like that.
Yeah, my body wasn't ready for acapella music, but I'm glad it was there.
Fantastic.
All right, well, this is Movie Night Extravaganza. We are here on this beautiful Tuesday evening where it's, not as hot as it has been, but still pretty hot, especially down in this basement. And I'm Forrest Miller. I am joined, as always, by artist, illustrator, comic book. I don't know. I was gonna try to come up with.
He's a comic book, yes.
Comic book character.
Living comic book. J. Andrew.
Comic book connoisseur is what I was going to say. But J. Andrew World, you're muted, by the way.
I am, absolutely am. No, I'm actually kind of mad that you made me watch this movie because it's a week until I get my studio space where I can finally sit back up my easel and start painting again. And then I got to watch other people paint, and I can't paint.
And the whole movie, they're painting.
Yeah.
People be painting.
Yeah, no, and it was great. I love watching artists work. So It's great for that. It's like that one scene in Titanic, but like 2 hours long.
And more scandalous, I think. And nobody
Definitely.
got left on the door. They
Yeah,
could have
nobody froze to death, so that's
Yeah.
nice.
They could have fit both of them on that door. I'm gonna keep saying it. They could have fit both of them on that door. He didn't have to die. Anyway,
I've been thinking that same thing for years. I'm so glad someone said it finally.
I've said it, I think, 10 times on the show.
That's the first time I'm remembering hearing it.
All right, joined also by, and I have a bunch of cities here to read, but Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, and lead of Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, who are going on tour with Service, in Indianapolis, Louisville, Nashville, and Atlanta this weekend. I wrote it all down. I feel very prepared for that intro.
Super impressed. That's awesome. Yeah, 40% of this panel is going to be on tour this week. It's great.
Solid 40%.
And I'll introduce the other part of the 40%. Erica Strout, a Georgia-based filmmaker, music video director, musician. Half of the musical duo Dream Tent, plays the guitar and sings the motherfucker, and the live band of Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, where she will be playing.
That's right.
Hey, thanks for having me again. Great to see you guys.
Yeah, and I'm really excited to talk about this movie because I think, originally with Kristina here, it was going to be a gender, diverse.
It's going to be totally balanced. But the dudes win again, as always.
Well, I hope everything's okay with her.
She's fine.
Yeah, she's having some family stuff. But we're also joined by Marina Dove. Marina Dove on Twitch and YouTube, video essayist, wood nymph, and content creator.
You put a wood nymph that's amazing. I love that.
That's my like job now. Just muse.
Yeah. Professional wood nymph.
Yeah.
You're definitely dressing the part.
I tried to look like as French and pastoral as I possibly could.
Yeah, it's really working. I like it.
Very Art Nouveau.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like
it's a little earlier than this film, but
Yeah.
I like very much that the ladies are stepping up the hair game too, which definitely Forrest. I know you're exempt, but yeah.
You can get a hair.
Just put some paint on there.
Yeah, wear a wig. Get a sick tattoo.
Yeah.
Tattooed hair.
I mean, like that is something that they do. Okay, sorry.
I bet people do that.
That's a real thing, huh?
Yeah, Forrest sees like tribal tattoos on his head.
Well, they tattoo like a dark color to fill in like where it looks, so it like gives it like shadows, so it looks like if you have.
I shave my head though. That's the thing. Yeah. Like it's a purposeful decision I make on my part. Anyway,
I'm imagining someone deeply interested in like French art house films randomly discovering this episode and like being like, "What is this the right thing? Did I click on the right thing?" They're talking about head tattoos.
Is about a movie. Yeah, we'll get to the movie.
It is. We'll get there.
This is important.
We'll get there, folks.
This is really important stuff.
I think so.
So there's this movie. I'm gonna pull up a clip of the cast and director, whose name is Céline Sciamma, and I'm gonna keep putting it out there because I practiced to say it.
It sounded good.
Yeah. So this is her talking about the idea for the film, and I don't know, it's cool. We've been doing a lot of like 2019, 2020 stuff this month, I feel like, and I find it really interesting. Like there's a lot of it's either like stuff we've been doing that it's during the COVID pandemic where they did a lot of like panels on all these things that were people kind of just like on a virtual panel, which they did way too many of those for the Suicide Squad, but we talked about that like last week. And or something like this where, like right before the COVID pandemic, and it's like the last times that there were people like in panels live. I mean, I'm sure they're doing it now live, but like it's interesting.
What inspired you to do the story, and why the 18th century?
What inspired me to do this story that it hadn't been told yet, mostly. And what inspired me was to be inspiring, hopefully. And why the 18th century? Well, I wanted to talk about, to show women artists at work and to talk about the art of portrayal. And the 18th century was all about the art of portrayal. And it was also a specific moment in art history where there was a lot of female painters, hundreds of them throughout Europe, and especially in France. And it's a reality that I was ignorant of because they were erased from art history. So it felt right to write the film at that specific moment.
So I understand you wrote the part of Heloise with Adele in mind. Like, what was that like to write a part specifically for you? What did you think when you first read the screenplay?
When I first read the screenplay, I thought this is a great script, and I was right because it won Best Screenplay in Cannes. So I felt, oh, okay. No, I must say, Céline and I have a long time collaboration and relationship. So obviously, this film is very particular for me. I thought this is, to me, when I finished the script, I thought this is a great sign of confidence that Céline, of what? Of trust. Sorry. She's telling me everything I should say, I'm kind of a Muppet. So,
But you trust
no,
me.
I choose it. No, and I was very happy that we would collaborate again. So I started to think of my own secret program for the characters.
Now, and what was your first take on the screenplay, especially because Marianne is in every scene of the movie?
My first impression was not only about Marianne, it was really about what I just read is, as Céline say, is, wow, this is something I never read, something that, stories that I've been missing, images that I never seen, like, this sex scene, the abortion scenes. It's something that I haven't been told. And this power of this love story also was already so much alive in this screenplay, in the script. All the details, it was like a huge promise. And I was so excited when I first read it. And when I first get an approach with Marianne, I felt she was so alive already. She was so modern. And so I was excited.
Yeah, so starting this conversation out, I think it's really interesting that class isn't the right word because everybody is kind of involved in the same gentry space, I guess. They're marrying her off to a nobleman in Milan, and the father of Marianne knows the family because he painted pictures before. But they come from these two very different backgrounds, and one of them is more of an international, traveling between France and I think Brittany is the island that they're on throughout this movie. But throughout France and Italy, and they have these connections and have some kind of wealth or something. But it's two very different backgrounds, and the fact that kind of I don't necessarily think that people women could have been in situations like that before this time period, right? It's kind of the beginning of the modern age. They opened up French art schools to a lot of women, and they were allowed to become painters as well. And there was a lot more autonomy. I think that it wasn't just kind of marrying somebody off or putting them in a convent, which when we talked about Benedetta seemed to be.
But it did kind of happen that way in this movie too,
which we covered at the beginning of the month. Yeah, but it's not
this is almost like a sequel,
Yeah,
Benedetta 2, Back in the Habit.
God damn it, Andy.
But I'm saying Marianne is not in that situation, right? She's allowed to have a lot more autonomy. I mean, she still has to put her picture at the end up with her dad's name on it and stuff. And obviously there's rules about, her not being able to paint men in the nude. And so there still are a lot of restrictions on her as well, but kind of the amount of freedom that she's allowed versus the amount of freedom that, Heloise is allowed. Or her sister, or really, because she seems to like the convent because it gave her some level of autonomy, which is that she could, read books or hear someone sing, which I feel like I'm bored a lot. And then hearing that kind of, I was like,
it's in perspective, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, Marianne probably, I mean, I think your point is spot on, but I also think she was able to become a painter, but it was probably by the generosity of her dad, or if her dad had felt strongly about her marrying, she probably would have had to do that, or
Yeah,
run, you know,
and
I'm like,
or
run
been put in
away
a
or
convent.
something. I don't know how that works
Yeah.
at that time.
Yeah.
Well, she said
also-
in the beginning she was put in a convent, or she was in the convent and she got her first communion or something, and they were like, her family was religious, and then she just was like, I can't do this. And so like, yeah, I mean, it's definitely her dad's connections that allow her to be more like independent, but at the same time, like it does feel like it's starting to be like there are more roles and I guess professions open to women in these societies.
I mean, the salon, you know, which was actually a really nice, you know, example of how a salon show would look at that time at the end of the film, you know, did have some space for women, but not a whole lot. You're right, because it was very limited, and you know, there were all those kind of rules put in place. Also, the interesting thing too is the arts class at the beginning was very not like how the classes were taught back then. I unfortunately had to go through a art class like that. We had a brilliant painter for a professor in college, and he taught it just like the schools in France back then, how they taught, and it wasn't that involved. I mean, granted, I don't imagine she'd be sitting there reading a magazine like he was, but the fact that she was able to kind of coach people through and discuss it like that, not normally how it's done back then. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot more intimate. It feels like kind of, it was she seemed to have a personal rapport with her students, and it seemed like it was kind of a more engaged, kind of almost like tutoring situation.
Do you think it's because they were all females?
It might be, actually.
She felt maybe a little more personally invested in helping them.
And I legit, you know, because there's not that much written on the history of women in art. You know, like there's few and far between, and it's a shame, because the few that do actually pop up throughout history are phenomenal artists. You know, but
and this movie makes me wonder even more about that, because, you know, I mean, she makes it clear, like, hey, I had to put this painting up under my father's name, like as if it was something he painted. And I wonder if that is also a common thing, right? Like there are paintings that were painted by women that were in the family of the artist, and
well, a lot of times too, like before that, they were set up as workshops. So like for example, some of Leonardo da Vinci's earliest paintings were actually painted under his master's name. So it's kind of a similar idea. I think at this point in time, they're kind of moving away from that into the salons and the I think it's salon style school, if I remember the name correctly off the top of my head. But there's actually a lot of stuff you can actually read about how those schools worked back then. That's actually kind of interesting, because like a lot of it is just like one-on-one critiques and group critiques is how they do it, which is fine, but sometimes it helps to see the artist, you know, like learn from another artist by seeing them do their craft, which is why I always enjoy watching people paint, which you get to see a lot of in this movie.
You hear all the sounds of it too. You guys were talking about the sound earlier. Like I really, like after I watched it, I just like didn't listen or look at anything after that. I was like, I'm just going to hear all the sounds that happen from like this project that I'm working on. And it was like this really, Zen experience. So like I found that kind of inspiring.
Yeah, the use of sound is really interesting, and throughout the whole thing, just the like the hollowness, like you could feel how empty that room was. And like I love this movie because it feels like an eternity to watch, and then you remember this is only like 11 days. Like this is like a week and a half.
Not even like 2 weeks. Yeah, exactly.
and they are going through, like, you're going through all of this emotion, but it's still so like paced, like it's paced like a walk, like one step at a time. But then you're just surrounded by these places that are either vast or just empty.
It felt like a college relationship, you know, like you know, just that kind of time scale.
Yeah, like it's like the summer of love, except it's like
11 days.
Week and a half.
The 11
exactly.
days.
well, I think Marina's on
full-blown lesbianism.
Because it's so it's so deliberate, right? Everything about it is so deliberate that like small motions mean like a lot. Like they create like big waves. And also I mean, not to put too fine a point on, but visually, and we've talked about the sound design, which I agree is astounding. Like so many scenes of this movie could just be paintings in and of themselves. Right, because it's so this immersive and like the colors are so like vibrant and beautiful and like the contrast. It's like
and the paintings are actually good too, because like
the paintings are actually good.
I mean, like how many times have we watched a movie where like you know it's about an artist and then they finally get to see their art and it kind of sucks. It's like, there's a great Xander Berkeley short film called Pony, and I love the movie to death. But the end of the film, the whole thing, he's going through like writer's block, and he finally writes the song, and it was like, oh, it's great. And it's the worst song you've ever heard.
Yeah,
well, that's like
music in movies is usually the worst for
that's that. That's also like Barton Fink, right? Like they get through it all the way, and then presumably anyway, like his final play or whatever, like his final movie script sucks. Everyone's like, this is terrible. Why no? But I like what Conan said though. About how each thing could feel like a painting because they reference it in this, right? Like your presence is made up of fleeting moments that may lack truth. And I think any moment of this, you can pause it and like the vibes you could get from it or the aesthetic you could get from it is completely different than the rest of the movie. And I kind of find it fascinating. And I think both of them have like incredible faces for that too. Like the amount that they have to play with on their face and the emotional state of, the way that they're looking at each other. And so much of this movie really is about the female gaze. And, I have a clip where they talk about this actually, but like the female gaze, not just as an idea about, not just as, that we're looking through the eyes of someone, but that both of the main characters are women and that they're looking at the eyes, like through the eyes of each other. And you're looking at it through an artist's eyes. So there's like a lot of interplay, I think, between these things. So I have a clip of them talking about it. And I was just watching it before we went on actually.
Nice.
Bah, vas-y. I was, I remember where I was in my bathroom. In my bathroom, comment tu dis, ma baignoire? Ah, bath tube. Huh? Bath tube, like the bath tube where you lay. Oh, really? Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. I was in my bath and I was like, oh my God, this is a incredible love story. And in a vision, it tells in a new way, and this way is something we've missed. It's a female gaze, and female gaze is what it's something we need more. It's our story, our stories, and this film is all about that. It's all about love and all about art and all about sorority also. And this is important to do.
Oh, well, to say it like quickly, I was very excited to work on this film because I think that, okay, we have, our goal is very high. So we have a lot to work ahead to actually fulfill it. So I said, it's more like, okay, now you are on board. Now you have a lot of responsibility because this could be great actually. So.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, it's not just. I mean, obviously, it's not just a film about women. But when you say from the female gaze, I mean, it's literally from the female gaze because she's painting her. I mean, it's still quite a rarity, isn't it, in cinema? You don't realize till you see a film like this how infrequently we see movies of this nature.
We definitely.
First, it's a movie with almost only women, and it's unbelievable that we. A lot of people notice the fact that it's only with women because there is so many movies with only men. And so it's kind of a new adventure that we propose and a new way of telling and inventing love and erotism, because this movie takes times and it's really about horizontal gazes between the women.
And so to say, I mean, it's very much like this is a queer story. But I think it's very interesting also, and I'm very glad that you're a man and you're saying this because I think you can take it home and just use it for your own life to invent. Then because I think it's a proposition, no men in the frame. It doesn't mean we want to erase men first. Just mean that it's a proposition like for a movie for 2 hours, it's okay. And what I mean is like, I think what is the biggest change
in this movie is that we are based, as Noemi says, erotism on collaboration, on imagination, and not on a domination that would be most of the time the strongest lift. I say like for erotism would be domination. And in our situation, we're like equality is actually very exciting, very much more exciting. There's much more possibility for you to create, for you to investigate all the possibility in life and in art and in sex life as well.
I just
like
love
hearing
how-
them try to
Oh,
speak
yeah.
English.
Yes, Beth too.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all agree, but to me, it was almost like jarring and disruptive when there was a dude on the screen.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, right at the end
I was
there.
like,
it's
oh,
whoa, dude!
there's
Very
a dude.
noticeable. Yeah.
Like,
Get out of here.
I
This
mean-
is a girl's house. Get me
Yeah.
through.
I was gonna get like a spray bottle and chase him away.
But in a way
He's
that
the
like,
pizza guy. They hired the pizza. They got the pizza guy from Milan to come in and drop something off.
but
Like,
the
we
mood is
never
like
even
the
see
vibe.
Heloise's husband.
No, yeah, and I think one, it's interesting that the mood and like the vibes, as said, are so immersive that like it's like being woken up out of a dream almost when you see that guy and you're like, this fucking guy, what's he want? which
There's a
I'm sure
man
happens
here.
a lot.
Which, by the way, I had to
What's a
double
man
check.
doing in here?
I had to double check this, but Celine was in a relationship with the actress who played Heloise. From 2014 to 2018, they broke up right before she wrote this movie.
That is
So-
nuts.
So this is kind of, I think this movie
That's
also
maturity
functions
right
as
there.
almost like a goodbye to her relationship. In the same way that Marianne, you know what I mean, has to say goodbye to the relationship at the end of the movie. Like, so it's
Yeah.
kind of fascinating knowing that backstory to
Wow.
it.
Very
Wow,
poetic.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, not to spoiler alert, it's a pretty devastating ending, right? I mean, it's like, oh, geez.
Oh, I was weeping.
It's
Yeah.
it's like so harsh, but it's like it's beautiful, but it's rough.
I like the interplay between kind of death in this movie. Like, obviously, no, the characters don't die, but like, you know, with the shadow of the sister's death hanging over everybody, and kind of the ghostly image of what you'd assume, I guess, throughout most of the movie is like almost like the sister, where she keeps seeing her in the white dress, standing in the shadows, and then there's that moment where she just takes off running after being in the house. You're like, holy shit, is she gonna jump off the cliff? And she stopped short. And
Yeah,
you have the same anxiety as a viewer, I think, that Marianne does when she's like, well, she's like, I've always wanted to do that. And she's like, what, like dying? And she's like, no, running. And you realize like this is someone who's been kind of this is like watching a caged bird almost. You know what I mean? Like someone who's delicate and beautiful, but like has been locked up within a very small space for her entire life, to the point where, you know, the convent feels liberating to her, because she's like, well, I can read and I can sing and like listen to music. And it's like, oh no, this is someone that's never experienced like anything.
She's never had a chance to live any life. Yeah,
Never made a choice.
And I did want to ask Marina about this. This is would you classify this as a what is it, gothic horror in a way?
As a professional wood nymph.
Yeah, because I mean, gothic horror does not mean what people think it means. So like, you know, I know you're the literary person here, so
what does it mean?
Yeah, I'm not that much into literature,
Okay.
but
I know you read a lot, so and you are a literary character.
it feels like it just feels very like classically like lesbian, the just yearning. And like I said, it just this it feels like it's like a slow burn, but you're like, this is 11 days. But it's just it feels like, now that I have the context that this was basically like written as an ode to this woman's relationship with the main actress, it feels like it just feels so intense. So I don't know, I would say it feels more like the romantics of the, you know, of the
I've
time
heard,
period that they're modeled after.
I've heard some lesbian couples get engaged within 11 days, but I don't know.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. There
Second
are
date
U-Haul
engagement.
lesbians.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's also a lot of romance and gothic horrors. Like it's the horror comes from like that whole mood about like the death of the sister and the whole kind of like first act kind of setup of stuff. But then it goes in a very different direction because sometimes they're a little more psychological. Sometimes I'm not an expert on this subject, but I thought you might be since you read a lot more than I do.
Oh no, I don't read that much.
I mean, to me, it kind of seems like a deep, classic romantic drama, like a doomed one, but like it doesn't. I mean, I don't see anything about that at all, frankly. Like but like in a way that I think there's a style of that kind of story that has certain things that people fall back on as like narrative function and crutches. This doesn't have any of those, and that's one of the things I like so much about it. And it's visually immersive. It's the sound is immersive. The performance, like everything about it, kind of wraps you in its world. And little things mean a lot. I know I've already said that, but it's just so pronounced that I was blown away having this is the first Celine Sciamma. Is that how you say it?
Celine Sciamma, yeah.
Was not familiar before this, but like, oh my god, like what? Like I'm like, all right, I'm just gotta watch all the rest of them now because I mean, it's some pretty incredible filmmaking.
The attention to detail is
the attention to detail is insane. It's insane.
It's like every moment is so carefully curated and like what are you really wanting your audience to notice and see and experience? And
I guess the one thing that I would say about I don't know if it's gothic horror or whatever, but like connecting it to like the story of like Orpheus and Greek mythology and kind of this mythological tale that's like as old as time, right? Like the first real, like one of the first real, at least written down stories of one of these tragic love stories. You know, like he looks back at the last second and she gets drawn back away from him and brought back down to Hades, and it's like that kind of connection. I could see that. I don't think that it really pervades throughout the movie to the point where I would say it's something gothic, but it does have that like that story as old as time. Or
I mean, like the thing is Jane Eyre, for example, is a gothic horror, and that first act very much plays out a bit like Jane Eyre.
I could see that.
Yeah, it veers from that after the first act, but like the setup of it is a bit like a gothic horror, and then goes off into into a love story, a doomed romance.
Yeah, I mean, Heloise she would not be allowed to go. She was barely allowed to go outside by herself. She was very much like trapped there.
Yeah. And what do you guys think about including the they have I think Sophie is her name, the servant girl that kind of manages their manor, and for her to get pregnant, and obviously you never see the guy that she's with or whatever. She's very young though, and to kind of include like her trips in between. I feel like that's not a story that's been told at all, like kind of how abortions would have been done in the 1800s.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, because the only other thing I know that has that is the Bible.
Yeah,
there's a bit of time there.
That's the only book I've ever read. So there you go.
I think that especially for right now, considering what politically is on the line for us, like it's really interesting to hear. Like I've been hearing more about the history of abortion and where they were saying in the leaked like argument or whatever that it wasn't like a historically like it wasn't linked to our like country's traditions, and then like hearing all the different ways in which it actually is, but it just wasn't like talked about in like common, in like those male circles. They didn't talk about that stuff. So for like all the men who were making laws and being politicians and running things, like it wasn't. But for the women who were living through those times, like it definitely was a thing that happened and that they knew about and knew how to do. And so I think that's really interesting. The whole subject of like old ways of abortions. That sounds really interesting to me.
Yeah. Oh, Marina was gonna say something before we all interrupted her. So
I'm sorry.
Oh no, I wasn't gonna say anything. Just that I was trying to think if I had seen another kind of abortion, but no, I was getting it confused with The Little Hours, which is like another kind of like almost like women own. Well, it's like mostly women, like 2 male characters, but where it's this like kind of a different kind of look at the mundane life of people in the past, and that like abortion was a very common thing because pretty much every plant that you could eat or every like herb that you could get a hold of could be used as an abortifacient. Like chamomile and basil were like pretty common abortifacents back then.
Well, and certainly like the argument can be made that being a woman, just living your life and just being there, like you could be taken advantage of at any moment and there's no consequences absolutely for anyone. Not that there's a whole lot in place now, but it's certainly better now. But
marginally better now.
You're literally property as a human being. So
and the ways that you could be, someone could be taken into account is as if someone had harmed property and not as if someone had like violated the the sanctity of a human being. And so for that kind of to like it's interesting, the only kind of real class dynamic that we see in this movie is Sophie, who's the servant, who's the one that gets pregnant, and that's like a different I think dynamic than someone who's kind of kept in the house like Heloise is, or someone who's even allowed to kind of wander the streets as long as they're in the right place to paint, like Marianne is. Like her ability to get an abortion I think is a lot more I guess almost ironically like she has a lot more ties to like the actual outside world, I think, because she's in a position where people aren't really looking out for her, but it also makes it a lot more dangerous. And I think that they show really well that like they have her like running from between them, and then they have her like hanging from the ceiling, and like I can't see the other 2 characters like putting themselves through that. It's like I don't know, it's like a different form of property in some ways, I guess.
Well, Marianne had one. She says at one point that she had been pregnant.
Yeah, but I'd assume that her version of that would be a lot safer. Not a lot safer, but like, you know what I mean? Like it seems like the servant girl doesn't really have access to things as much, and they have to go to kind of like this midwife's like kind of sketchy place, and she's like placing stuff in there, and like I would assume that maybe there's more medical professionalism, I guess. And
I think at that time it would have been safer to go to that lady that she went to.
You were more likely that you were going to a midwife than it was like a male doctor.
Like, were men even allowed to watch births happen at that point in time?
Yeah,
like, I don't
because
know.
So
even if they were doctors for a while, they weren't allowed to.
So like the great book that everybody should read about like the history of like criminalization of abortion and witchcraft, because it goes hand in hand together, is that like a lot of women that were executed for witchcraft were actually people that were practicing like herbal medicines that were giving like the idea that like witches were eating babies or like using babies in rituals comes from the fact that a lot of these women were killing off fetuses through abortions, and that's how the church like turned it into this whole thing. And so the traditional role for a lot of women in communal like situations would have been the midwife or like the caregiver, the person to like go to for like sexual health advice. So really it may not have actually been common to have a woman at that time because it had been outlawed by the 16th century. It was very uncommon to have women as like doctors because they were all killed off.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't necessarily trying to say doctors. I meant like, I guess with a little bit more. Well, I don't know. I guess I was just wrong, but
no. I mean, at that point, it would have just been like the one lady in town that knows how to do it. If you have a lady in town that knows how to do it, otherwise the men are not going to do it for you. Like the doctor that you would go see in a clean by that standard back then would have been like covered in blood
Clean.
and shit and feces.
Yeah.
Clean. He's
Still
not
rough,
washing
yeah.
his hands. He's gonna
And
throw
half
you
of
in
what they were doing
prison.
was like bloodletting. Like half of what they
Yeah.
would they'd be like, we need to take out this much blood.
Your
And
humors are all wrong. The bile, I don't know. Just make the
We're gonna
goo
trephinate
come
you
out.
just for good
Squeeze
measure.
until
Yeah.
the goo comes out. I want to see the goo.
I was
We're just
I
gonna
was,
drill into your skull for the hell of it. It's just what we do. It's preventative.
I was reading about
It's fine.
I was reading about how George Washington died, which we think about America as being more civilized than than the rest of the world almost by that point, because they're like, oh, we have Enlightenment ideas. No, they took out like a shitload of his blood, and he probably died from fucking blood poisoning.
Well, he died from bloodletting because they were taking out all of his blood after they injected his penis with mercury because he had syphilis. That's how they used to treat syphilis, with mercury right into the PP.
This has taken a very dark turn.
No, so what I'm saying is medical professionals were not really up to any standard.
No, probably not up to code. I would trust the like random French lady with the baby on the mattress with me getting the abortion over like a male doctor back then any day of the week.
It's got to be so weird to be having an abortion and looking at a child.
I think that that had to have been like that was such a like gut wrenching scene where you're just like.
Although isn't that basically what they try to do with all of this? Well, we can't actually make it illegal, so we're just going to make it as like emotionally damaging and terrible as possible, and make you feel like a horrible piece of shit the entire time.
Maybe she was one of the earliest anti-abortion activist kind of people. She would bring them in there, and she'd be like, "Are you sure you want to have this abortion? Look at this child that I left."
I mean, have y'all seen Never?
I know.
The baby was no choice, though. She was trying to gouge out her eyes.
Have you seen, was it Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always?
I haven't seen it yet, but I know I know a little bit about it.
Really, really good, but harsh toke. Let's put it that way. And I don't want to take us any more off topic than we already are, which I know would be difficult, but
hey, Sam,
we're not really that far off topic. I mean, the question
we're talking about George Washington's penis being injected with mercury, though.
But we were talking about it in terms of what medical
women's rights.
Yeah. No, and it's
women's rights to inject George Washington's penis with mercury.
Yeah. There's a couple of people that definitely deserve it. Let's put it this way.
George Washington.
Most presidents, actually.
Gonna go. Okay. I think to bring it back toward the movie, I
just really like this movie. So what I'm talking about.
It's a great fucking movie. I'm excited we're talking about it. Just thinking about how intense their gazes looks at each other and how everything just being so kind of drawn out it feels like Marina was saying it feels like it takes forever, but it's also this is only 11 days this whole period of time and just thinking about how how you're watching or how they women were still considered property in many ways at this time, and the fact that they if you I mean, it's kind of unclear if either of them is fully gay or whatever, but I mean, if you are interested
all
in
that matters.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really matter, but if you're interested in someone of the same sex or gender as you, how many chances do you get to actually connect with somebody else?
Yeah, at least not in
your life.
And not at least not in an exploitative someone's your servant or something like that, and something on an equal level too, on a level where it's two people connecting and there isn't a power disparity. Not that they would have thought about that at the time, but it's interesting that it is a fully consensual and non-exploitative relationship, I think, whereas we kind of focus a lot on exploitative relationships in this time period. But I also think that marrying somebody at this time, because women were kind of considered property, it's a financial contract rather than about love, right? And so this is a love story
between families. Yeah.
So this is a love story at a time when love wasn't even kind of part of the equation into what these relationships would have been.
Right.
But think about like engaging in any way, shape, or form is a danger, right? Because it could be.
I don't know.
Like,
rich people were doing gay shit all the time.
Well, okay, sure.
Like
it was a danger if you were working.
Like you couldn't be together exclusively, but it was kind of like well known that in a lot of like wealthy like bourgeois circles, and you like with the like you see like cafe culture, and later on with like Virginia Woolf and her her whole thing, like she was fucking every like woman that like came through.
Oh, they're best friends. They live
they're
together.
best friends. Like
get it, girl. More
best
power
friends,
to you.
That's a 500-page novel, Virginia. But so it's like I guess that's how I'm like gonna sleep at night. Like, is that she probably got to fuck other like rich like ladies because they were just like rich people made those rules so that they could control poor people, because it's like it's a problem for the servant girl to have an abortion because that's like another poor person for them to own. But the women with a little bit more like mobility are like, yeah, I got abortions all the time. I've been fucking all over the place. Like,
yeah,
but also
I
I
remember
think
when she was like, "Oh, I had to wait for the missus to leave so I could take care of this."
Yeah. But I think it's also I mean it does come down to like the property thing, but also just I feel like this is kind of a moment in time right before that like kind of salon cafe style culture started kind of emerging, because this feels like women are kind of able to get the first gasp of freedom, right? Like liberation of some kind, and it is down to like, oh well, your father's an artist, so you can also become an artist and train this way. But like it does feel like it's opening up, and I think this movie does a really good job kind of showing that, because she's like listen, I've been allowed as like an upper class kind of member of, I guess, gentry circles to like be able to go to Milan and France, but then the other woman, Heloise hasn't even heard music, like, what I mean, hasn't even ever heard an orchestra. So it's like this kind of like liberation versus I guess autonomy versus like kind of
is there does she have a father?
Who?
Heloise? Or is her mother a widow?
Presumably. It sounds like her mom's doing all the business dealings,
right? Because that's
which may be customary. I don't know.
Right, but it's like it would be like an interesting, just like tidbit of information to know, because I don't think that I caught it. Just because it's like, how do women contribute to the social reproduction, and like if her mother does have access to wealth, like she's still like could just let her daughter do whatever, but is still going for this keeping up appearances, like I'm still gonna like marry off my daughter so that I still retain power and like people would but that's not clear.
Presumably the mother does have a husband, because when like in the description of the movie she's referred to as like the countess, so presumably her father is some kind of count, like nobleman or something. But that doesn't mean that the father is overly
alive, because he's not dead. He's not dead it's not, he wouldn't be dead recently enough for them to comment on it, or he's alive and just like doesn't exist, which is awesome. I love a movie where they were just like, the men don't have names.
Yeah.
Well,
like when she walks in at the end and he's just like, oh, oi.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, it's jarring, right? It's completely jarring with that, and you're like, what's this guy want?
Yeah, when the guy's sitting at the kitchen table eating food, and Marianne comes in the house, and the guy's sitting there, it's like, what's he doing here?
Yeah.
Okay, so on it's an article from WBUR, and it says the widow's daughter. So presumably, the father would be dead.
Okay, because just for example, 100 years later, there's a famous painting by John Singer Sargent called Portrait of Madame X, I believe it's called, or something along those lines. It's a gorgeous painting. If you've not ever seen it, highly recommend checking it out. It's one of his best. But she was the daughter of a plantation owner and general of the Civil War. And her after he died, her mother took her to Europe, and she was like the queen of Europe, because everybody was just like, oh, she's got this American accent, and but she's old money and that kind of stuff. And there's books written about this woman and stuff like that. But that painting is like this a big artifact of it. And 100 years after this movie, the mother still had that kind of power, trying to marry off the daughter to still have, because remember, they were Southerners who owned plantations, so they lost their a lot of their property in that they weren't making as much money doing the sharecropping. So they're out in Europe trying to marry her off into money.
Imagine that, when you pay people for their work, you don't make as much money for yourself.
Funny that, yeah.
No, that painting is gorgeous. I just looked it up, and
It's
I kind of want
stunning.
that dress she's wearing.
Yeah, and John Singer Sargent really wanted to bang her.
Not
Oh,
surprised.
Okay.
Not
Andy
surprised.
explains. This,
Lady's
this
got
is
a
another
figure on
story
her, it
brought
looks
to you
like.
by J. Andrew Brown.
Hey, but yeah, it's art history, so it's kind of sort of related.
Marginally on
True.
topic.
No,
story.
true.
Yeah, no, and you learn a lot of stuff about society. I think through
Marginally
art history,
seems like
and
we're
I
doing pretty
think that kind of helps me understand this movie a little bit.
Yes, there we go. Yeah, look at that. It's gorgeous. You're right.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's awesome.
I can see how she could be the talk of all of Europe for sure.
I mean, the detail
They
in
were
her face. in
probably
particular.
like just stunned by the fact that she has a chin and a jawline.
and not a Habsburg one.
Yeah. She has like a full blown like set of features. Oh my god.
Yeah, look at that figure.
Also, that dress was very
I
kind
am.
of revealing for the time too. So like it was it was like people were in shock when they saw this at the salon.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't there?
Scandalous.
Wasn't there
Scandal
like a
at the
thing?
salon.
Absolutely devastating.
Wasn't there a thing where like somebody like went to like an award show, like basically as close as you can get to that portrait as possible? Wasn't that like a thing like some time ago? Anyone else remember this?
Probably.
Nope, but award shows be doing some
It may have been the
crazy
Met
things.
Gala because they do
Ah.
all kinds of fun
they do
stuff.
lots of yeah, they're very.
Yo, they
very
did
artistically
the Met
focused.
Gala this year. Did fucking Gilded Age and
They look
saw no irony
busted.
about having every single millionaire like millionaire celebrity dressing up at the most economically
Busted.
devastating.
It was Kate Blanchett, by the way. It was Kate Blanchett, and I was 100%
Oh,
correct.
she's allowed.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay, well,
we
she's
we approve.
she's
My
gorgeous and
mother.
awesome, so okay.
Yes, Marina's mother, Kate Blanchett.
But
Sorry, Forrest, I know you're prepping a clip,
yeah,
but I
so-
thought that
so
was
this
very
is-
important.
This is a clip about working with the artist in preparation for this. So I wanted.
Well, I don't want to see it. I'm just kidding. I want to go ahead and play it. I'm sorry.
No, Amy,
I
what
won't
was
do
it
that
like,
again, I
the
promise.
Preparation that you did, especially in terms of the choreography of a painter.
Yeah, that was a big part of the preparation was working with before the shooting, working with Hélène Delmer, who is the person who is in real the paintings that you see in the movie. I'm sorry, it's not me. I wish, but I did more like portrait of Louise, more like Bacon or Picasso, I would say. Even more because I'm left-handed and Hélène is right-handed, so it was really destroy. But no, what I did is observe a lot Hélène before the shooting and try to catch the gaze of the painter, the gaze of the artist, because I kind of made a mix of Hélène's gaze and Céline's gaze, because I think a painter, as all artists, has this particular gaze, which is really concentrate gaze, really mystic also, which is a mix of looking and observe the details, the contrast for a painter, and also have a more global vision of what you do and what you want to share. And I was really trying to catch this. And then there is all the technique and the gesture and the rhythm of the painter between the model and the canvas. And, it's 3 steps back, three steps towards the canvas. This kind of the dance of the painter that I was trying to catch also.
So when I saw the film A Telluride, and I met you there, so after I saw the film there, I was going online. I was doing some research about the film. And I think it was at the press conference at Cannes. You mentioned that this is a love story with equality. And that really kind of got to me. What did you mean by that? What do you elaborate on that? Because it was such a beautiful description of this movie.
Yeah, the movie is trying to depart globally from the narrative of conflict and the dramaturgy of conflict, and wanted to, as it's a love story between two women, and that is something that wouldn't have happened if it was a woman and a man. There is no gender domination. But there is also, we decided not to put any intellectual domination, and even though it's a relationship between also a model and an artist, and usually we portray this with the kind of power dynamic. And we also decide, because I wrote it by myself, decided not to also push the buttons of social hierarchy. So we have a love dialogue and a creative dialogue that doesn't rely on the dynamic on the usual power dynamic that we used to, which is the dynamic of conflict. It's also the case for the erotic scenes. They are not based on the eroticism of conflict. What happens when you do that? It's politically new, so it's new imaginary, so it's interesting, but also it brings new tension in the room, new emotional journey for you, because it's full of surprise. That's why lies inequality in fiction, and I think also in life, it's that it's full of surprise. You don't know what to expect, because usually we used to see films where the scenes are about bargaining. It's a good bargain. That's how we're told to write scenes. Somebody wants something, the other one wants something else, and in the end, you will end up handing the thing. So yeah, that's what equality is in the film.
I like that.
Thoughtful way of looking at it.
And I'm looking at the artist Elaine Houston's paintings, and she's I think it's a she. At least that's what the photos look like. Paints a lot with watercolor, which is weird because those are oils in the film. So
yeah.
Wait, I had a bit because she said that she wanted to do the Picasso thing. So the painting looked like Picasso. So I was going to say, imagine if she unveiled the picture and
I got your portrait.
I would have lost my shit if it looked like that at the end. If she had painted it normally, all up until, and then that was it at the end.
That was the big reveal.
That is a very different movie, y'all. That is a very different movie.
God.
But the entire movie pose like that for 3 hours.
Every piece of it is exactly the same, except for the reveal as it's a Picasso.
Yeah. And then you find out it's the story of a young Picasso's daughter or something. What?
Googly eyes. Googly eyes stuck on the canvas.
Well, back to what she was saying. I think that's a very thoughtful and interesting way to look at it. Also, I feel like, and I only saw this movie last year, but I feel like having read up about it, a lot of people were really focused on quote unquote the female gaze of it all, but it didn't really seem like that was because of course they were, but it didn't really seem like the raison d'etre, if you will, of doing the film, or where she was really coming with it. It was sort of almost incidental and just part of the tapestry.
I agree. Actually, I didn't. When I think about how male gaze works and all that, I don't know, that didn't occur to me at all when I was watching it. Neither the first time nor the second time.
Because it's female gaze, and I'm like, this is
is it because
still
I'm female?
Not horny? It's not erotic enough, and that's I don't know. That's my one critique. Is this is a French movie. It could have been way hornier.
It smolders more than anything, right? It's more of a smoldering than it.
Or a longing. A lot of it is, I think there's a lot of longing to it and a lot of confusion to it. And definitely not, I feel like until they actually kiss after that bonfire, they don't.
They kiss and then they run away. And you're okay. And then they finally fuck and you're you don't see any of it, which like I get it, like no male gaze, but it's just not like I don't know. There's just like a little.
They knew men were gonna watch it, so they said no male gaze. We're not gonna show you anything. We're not gonna let you.
We're not gonna let you a little like it's a slow burn.
Just gonna get the armpits.
It's like it's a slow burn, but it could have had me a little bit more like gripping my seat. I don't know. It was just like Pride and Prejudice has you like gripping, where you're like, please touch each other.
Especially after watching Benedetta. Like watching Benedetta and then watching this, it's the years apart. No one.
Okay, I see that point. I mean, those were hundreds of years apart, right? Because the plague was what, in the 1200s?
Yeah.
And this was in the 1700s.
Maybe with the plague, going through everything, people just didn't have time to do all this longing and looking at each other.
Well, they only lived to like 32. I mean,
and within 48 hours, you're covered in pustules. It just makes it disgusting. Like,
oh my God.
Also, Benedetta was directed by Paul Verhoeven, which had decapitating Jesus in it. Which was awesome.
Yo, it was
definitely that movie.
Corny. Okay,
Paul Verhoeven's movie definitely had a very different goal in mind.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was more of a like look back at our classic episode earlier this month of Benedetta for more on this. But like, I mean, there's a lot of things there. Like, he's basically a scholar of Jesus as a historical figure, and it shows as a historical figure, not a religious figure, and like the indictment towards like power and institutions on that is just as important as like the nunsploitation that everybody kind of sold it on. But let's be clear, that's a horny movie, to be clear.
Yeah. Well, but we kind of take the exploitation out of it, right? Completely.
Well, hold on. Erica's now seen it, so I'm curious as what she was going to say next.
Seen it now.
She did not see it when she was on the show, as she was the first one to admit.
I had not seen it. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I was like, I just want to join in. I don't care. Wait, what am I supposed to comment on?
Well, whatever you were going to say before your Forrest mansplained over you. No kidding.
Oh, I was gonna talk about how like when I think about the male gaze versus female gaze, and it's probably because I'm female, but like when I think about the male gaze, it feels like a little creepy. It's, there's a certain kind of intensity to it where I feel like I don't know, the female gaze feels still like more I can't think of the right word, but there's something that's like less I'm gonna destroy, like I want to destroy you in a certain weird way. Like I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to put into words.
Yeah, because I feel that the Verhoeven film was more of a male feminist, like as feminist a male director could probably get. For the most part, and this is definitely like there's something a little more tender, a little more raw emotionally.
This is all like tender and raw emotion. I mean, that's like this personified.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm just comparing the two. This one is more about the emotion, the feeling of it. We've all had that relationship like at some point in our life, which was like, a week and a half long, but like it felt like a lifetime at the moment.
Right.
And also Verhoeven very much played up the fact that, Benedetta kind of adopted her, like had her father pay for the girl that she was in a relationship with, who had been like sexually abused for, her entire life, to be brought into the convent and then kind of acted as that figure over her.
That's some Color Purple shit right there.
Yeah,
totally. I just want someone to poop next to, really.
Whereas in this, they've stripped all of the possible exploitation out of it, all of the power dynamics out of it, which I don't think
all of the farting
that necessarily has done that, right? Like it's not like it's not kind of bringing somebody in. Like they're both mutually trying to, like they both mutually realize that they're in love with each other, and that it kind of appears to be on the same plane. I think completely.
Yeah. I think also, I think Paul Verhoeven did a really good job with Benedetta, I will say. One thing I realized after I watched it was that it was based on a book written by a woman. It was a film made by men, but it was based on a book written by women. So I don't know what kind of influence that may have had on them.
It's also an academic book too. So it's not like there wasn't a narrative in there. The narrative is from Verhoeven. So like the facts and stuff was probably, right. And the story about the era was right, but the story itself was Verhoeven.
Okay. But he does seem like somebody who's very dedicated to like, I want to find out the historical truth and see like.
He's got like a library. It's crazy. Like it's like he's like a meticulous researcher where that where that actually is research and not meaning I looked up at somebody's video on YouTube and made like
you have the clip still, Forrest?
Good on you, Paul.
I have the clip that I have to plug in my hard drive. We can watch it in the after party though.
Okay.
Talk about it. But I like that Verhoeven is also the dude that did Showgirls, and like to be talking about him like he's a historical reaster, and really this is to get to
he made sure that was very accurate.
You know, Showgirls director Paul Verhoeven.
Sure.
I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know.
But like back to this film, I think that the Portrait of a Lady on Fire is really amazing because it manages to be perfectly emblematic of like a romance genre while also kind of transcending it at the same time. Like none of the like what I consider kind of tired characteristics and tropes are really there, and it's very uniquely paced in that way, and it's paced in such a way, and we've talked about it in multiple different ways, but of it being like this is a universe of time in a short amount of time. And I don't think I've seen a movie that portrays that works so hard at showing you instead of telling you that. Meaning, literally the visuals, the pacing, the delivery by the actresses, every piece of it is there to put you in a vibe, but it's actually telling a story as opposed to something like Drive, which is all vibe. And, whatever. If that's what you're into, cool. I like stories. The story is amazing. Coming up next week, Drive.
I did actually like Drive. I won't
It's fine. It's fine. I'm not mad at it, but like, come on. What can you tell me about that plot? Anything? Nothing? Okay, cool. Doesn't matter. He's running around in a car. Great.
You don't want to hear it, so I won't get into it.
I don't. Not really. But this is like the opposite of any of that like it kind of like I feel this is gonna seem like a weird analogy, but think about Get Out. Get Out is like I think one of the best horror movies in like recent years, but it doesn't embody like a lot of like the tropes of what we think of as a horror movie. So in that way, I think this is one of the best romances of like recent years, and one of those reasons why it's because it's just it's there's nothing about it. It's not paced that way. It doesn't have any of the things that you would expect to see, and that makes it more real and it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, at no point I pushed the laptop off my lap, going, "Oh, it's a kissing movie." Yeah.
I don't know.
Because
maybe that's just my
Savage
take on
from 1986.
Maybe that's just my take on it.
You told me this wasn't a kissing movie.
Is this a kissing book?
But like I think that's like I think that's super key. Like that's one of the things that blew me away. Like really blew me away when I saw this. It was like, wow, this is a movie that is literally built different.
Yeah, no, it's structured differently. I mean, I feel like it's a novel more than anything. Like I think novels have done a really good job. Like older novels, like kind of drawing things out and making you feel like you're there and really describing everything that you're witnessing within them. Especially like, I mean, there's been a lot of novels about either like plantation life or like life, in certain feudal situations or something that have kind of done a good job with showing how much time really elapses and how little there is to do, and like the ways in which these characters are like have to interact. And it kind of this movie kind of does that too, and I haven't really seen that on film.
Yeah.
But like I said, I watch listed all the rest of her movies. I'm like, I can't wait to see all the rest of them if they're even half as good as this one.
Did you guys get like an Agnes Varda influence feel from this?
Oh yeah, totally. At least, in a couple key ways for sure. Yeah, for sure.
What were your key ways that you felt it?
I mean, pacing for one thing, like just like like the very like deliberate pacing and placement. Really, I mean, like Agnes Varda was all of her films are like she's not afraid to like let things just play out.
Yeah,
just play and like to the point that like other directors are like, okay, that's enough of that. It's like no, we're gonna go a little further with it, and then when you have the right people, something very special happens, and I feel like that's also what happens here. So
yeah, and I like what Celine said when she was talking about it, saying like, oh well, we've been structured to write scenes in a way that's like you like this character wants this and this character wants this, and I was trying to strip that element out of these scenes, like scene by scene, to try to make it so that, you know, it was on some kind of like cooperative plane rather than being kind of, you know, characters transactionally asking for something.
Yeah,
wants, needs, and it exchanges for sure.
It's an interesting concept.
Yeah,
strategy.
I have one last clip, and then we can go to Letterboxd one-liners. But this is Celine talking about what she wants you to take away from this film and like the last scene of it. And so yeah.
Get it all the time.
And I never answer.
What was it like? First of all, how many times did you shoot it, and what was it like for you to film that? Was the music playing while you were filming it so you could react to it? Tell us about how you filmed that very last scene.
Well, it's kind of a secret. Now we did only 3 takes, but just 1 or 2 were sharp because we had like a big technical problem because there are very few lights, and anyway the focus is very hard to do in this scene. So I had to be very focused myself all day long. So we could when the 3 minutes are there, you have to be there. I think I prefer not to say what was happening while we were shooting this scene, just because it belongs to you.
Why no score?
Well, it's a decision that I took very early on in the process of screenwriting, because that there would be no score, no music, which was kind of scary because it's a period piece. So usually it's like music all over, and also it's a love story, and every love story has a score in cinema or in life. But it was because of the reconstitution. I wanted to put you in the same state of mind, for you to share that frustration, that beauty is so inaccessible. Finding a book, you're going to read it 3 times. And want to hear music, you have to go to church, which explains the success of religion. I don't know if I can make that joke here, but I just did. Okay, thank you. Yeah, once more, it's a matter of being equal, sharing the experience of these characters. And also absolutely believing in the power of music in cinema. And that is that when it happens in the film, you'll definitely connect to this idea.
Yeah, it's so riveting and mesmerizing. You just totally get consumed and engrossed by the film. But what kind of an impact do you hope that this movie makes? Like, how do you hope it changes the dynamic with the way movies are made and embraced?
I hope you feel seen. I mean, the movie is all about the power of the gaze, the fact that, I mean, you look at the film, but the film is also looking at you. I hope that you feel looked at by the film. And in the end, I want you to leave the room thinking about yourself and also your love for cinema, because that's what this final scene is all about. You know, at first you are like Marianne, you think about Marianne watching Eloise, but at some point you are in a theater seat, Adele is in a theater seat, and you're not watching Eloise, you're watching Adele and Elle performing, you're watching an actress, you're watching cinema, it's cinema unveiling itself, so that suddenly there is room for you, there is room for your own love stories, for your own souvenir, remembrance. So yeah, I want you to leave the room full of this story, but also full of your story.
Hell yeah.
That woman is brilliant. Holy crap.
Yeah, she's freaking awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking out the rest of her filmography.
Yeah,
Yeah, same.
I really like also that she's like, this movie is about the female gaze, and like the way that she puts it into that, like I don't know, the way that she kind of phrased that in that moment was like kind of awesome.
And the moments,
yeah.
And the moments where they actually do play music, like she was mentioning, it really hits hard. Like
yeah,
exactly.
You know,
it means more. It's like exactly. And that's, look, this is gonna seem crazy. A Quiet Place came out like the year before, and Krasinski chickened out and put a freaking score on it. And how much better would that movie have been if it was just silent except for like the sound.
You know what I did like about that movie? There's this bridge, right?
I know here comes the bridge. But like, I secretly hope that Krasinski saw this film like the next year when it came out and was like, God damn it, I could have done it. Like, I hope that he like really like because
he's
like
watching it in his TIA briefing. And
He's too busy making out with Emily Blunt.
Yeah.
No, I thought Forrest for a minute was going to say Chris Hayes saw A Quiet Place and decided to move there.
But
that is like that bridge is in the same area I think that Chris Hayes lives in, like that part of
fantastic.
The road back there.
Yeah,
the point is the usage, like what she was talking about there, is so brilliant that like when there is something there, it hits so hard, and it like it really works, and it's not like a shtick or anything. It really works.
No.
Well, I think this. I'm sure that Conan, you can relate to this. Like whenever there have been a couple of musicians in particular that I can think of who, when they're playing, it's like it's almost more about when they're not playing than when they're playing. Like Mandy, Mandy on bass. For some reason, I'm like, she knows when to play, but more importantly, she knows when not to play. And like,
I feel like Tony is the same way. Frankly,
I agree.
We're naming bass players we play with, but like, I mean, it's you're 100% right.
No,
because
that's the beauty of like making really great music. And like, I mean, I think, you're making music, you're making films, like it's both very much a work of art. So like knowing when to do the thing and knowing when not to do the thing, like that is
and there's
brilliant.
concepts. I mean, the concept of like diegetic sound and non-diegetic sound within film. Like,
I was trying to think of that term the other day. I'm so glad you said it.
So like, non-diegetic sound being the soundtrack and diegetic sound being like the claps and them being in the actual orchestra.
Like it's happening in the
and this movie did an amazing use of diegetic sound to actually put us into the space where the characters were, I think. And I think that's something that is hard to actually understand. Like if you're someone who's writing a film and directing it, which is what she did, to be also like aware enough to realize where music should be diegetically versus non-diegetically, I think is like incredible in this movie.
A couple other things I would love to point out or talk about before with the one-liners, which I am excited about. But for when so I'd seen this movie last year and I rewatched it for this episode that we're doing now. But the point where seeing the early the painting from the guy who had shown up to try to paint Heloise and he failed, and seeing the point where like it looked like her heart was on fire because the painting was on fire, but it was like right there on her chest. And then seeing her dress on fire later on, and like this whole like all the intense love that happens between them. And then like, I mean, just, some of the shots are just so like really carefully put together. It's just, I can't imagine how much work this was.
I also the first scene where she's sitting there naked in front of the fire and smoking the pipe is kind of the most vulnerable we see her for the first half of the movie, right? Like once she opens up, but like she has to play this almost character, right, of someone who's just been hired to go for walks with her, which is such a sad statement. Like she's like, oh my God, you hired someone to take me out on walks, but like just that's the most kind of naked and vulnerable we see her for the first half of the movie, and the rest of the the rest of the movie up till the point where they actually do like embrace and stuff. Like she's kind of playing this very stiff character, and you can tell that's not who she is, but she's trying to get information out of her and she feels guilty about it. And so to have that kind of shot and then to have the shot where in the fireplace the painting's in there and you can see like truly like her heart's on fire.
That and we've already touched on it, but like the parallel to the Odysseus and Eurydice story, like I mean, brutal, absolutely brutal.
And the art criticism at the end, which also kind of speaks to the deeper meanings of the film that we just watched, was just fantastic. I haven't felt like that since the Van Gogh episode of Doctor Who.
Oh, Andy,
I cry every single time I watch that episode.
By the way, I do know the episode you're talking about, but Andy.
I don't, but
it's beautiful. It really is. Like that ending is just like the whole time it's Doctor Who. They're running around fighting monsters, and then at the end, it's just this beautiful ode to Van Gogh, and Van Gogh gets to hear it in person, like what his legacy is.
Van Gogh to the polls,
and it just the way it was shot, the performance, everything about that moment. It's just, it just hits.
Did it
really
shift
does.
all of like the multiverse? Like just changed fundamentally at that point?
As an artist, it's like how often like you want to hear how your work has impacted the world. And
yeah,
Van
it's pretty
Gogh,
nice to know.
Van Gogh never got that, even in his lifetime. You know,
that's true.
Because
nobody Van Gogh to the polls, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing is, so that's what I really appreciate about that. And then this.
Hey Marina, do you have any thoughts on any of this that you want to share?
Who's your favorite Doctor?
Andy,
definitely 10. Anyway, what's up? We're talking about how much we love the movie, because I love I've been trying to like talk about this one part all night and I keep forgetting, so let me talk about it right now. But there's this part where it's the scene of Sophie embroidering, and then Marianne is like looking over while Heloise is chopping the like bread, and it's just like it's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. The way that it looks like a moving painting, and it really reminds me of the kind of paintings that like Johann Vermeer made. And there's not that many of them, but they're very like they were all about just like the kind of mundane daily lives of women, and it just always makes me think of that scene. Just makes me think of like the first time I've ever like saw a Vermeer painting.
And it kind of naturalizes over the course of the movie. Like I think that a lot of those scenes, because they also have them playing cards, it looks a lot like something from like a moving painting, I'd say, as well. As they get more like naturalized with each other, as they get more kind of intimate, not in the relationship sense, but just in the sense of like being together. And feeling natural, and having her reveal herself completely. And I think that it becomes more and more like a moving painting. So I would agree with that.
Yeah, and like the early Impressionists kind of did a lot of that kind of stuff too, of that era. You know, or even I would say argue proto-Impressionists, which honestly this movie kind of captures that era, which often gets overlooked in art history, but has some of my favorite pieces. I mean, I love in the Walters Art Museum, for example, I love visiting this one piece where a clown gets stabbed. You know, because
just normal mundane things happening on the street. The clown
real slice of life stuff. Yeah.
Yes. No, it was like a duel after the party, and the other guy's getting also dressed as a clown, is getting dragged off by his friends and looks like they're all drunk. It's a gorgeous painting. But you know, clown gets stabbed. So.
I stab any clown I see. We had a thing for a while here. It's on popping up everywhere. I caught a couple.
All kinds of new stuff. Wow.
Do you guys remember where there were these news stories throughout the country of like there were these guys dressed as clowns that would pop up?
I saw them.
I remember that happening. Yeah,
I saw the clowns.
You saw them with your own eyes?
I saw clowns. Yeah.
Oh my God! Wait, where do you live?
Well, this was in Santa Cruz.
Oh, okay.
In California. So
no, I know. Yeah.
Like juggalo behavior. It was weird.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say the word, but you said Santa Cruz.
They were juggalos. Yeah. They were. Well,
two things come to mind. Hippies.
They were juggalos. Yeah. They were juggalos that were taking advantage of the like clown sightings.
Has anyone ever noticed how much the Toyota 4Runners, the white ones, look like juggalo faces?
Oh my God, you're so right.
Right? How come no one's talking about this? Every time I see a white Toyota 4Runner, I'm like, juggalo face.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, throw it on
See
the
it.
screen. Let's, this seems like classic after party stuff. But
Okay,
sure.
but then let's see.
Let's talk about it at the after party then.
We can do the Letterboxd one.
All right. Letterboxd is a place for film. It is a open source democracy. Everybody gets to have their say. Not just the Siskel's and Eberts of the world. People, film lovers that are people, get to talk about the movies they love, the movies they didn't love, the movies they were fascinated by, the movies they were weirdly thirsty and or horny for. All of this is, of course, best expressed, for the purposes of this bit anyway, in the classic working on your tight five, one-liner format. Get in, get out, make your observation, get on with your life. Open source democracy. These are the Letterboxd one-liners for Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Oh my God, I love them. I wish lesbians were real.
Oh, same.
This movie is an attempt to bring the mythical lesbian to screen for the first time in the hopes that they will formulate.
Yeah, we're working on it.
Oh, to be gay in France by the ocean.
Oh, truly.
Vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Great movie. My therapist will be hearing about it.
All right, Angela, I see you. We see you, Angela. Damn.
I think shoving my hand into a blender would hurt less.
And yet they gave it 4.5 stars.
Yeah, you know, but also I appreciate the tag here. Here come the waterworks. That's good.
Yeah, I think they meant the emotional impact of the movie rather than the having to watch the part.
Maybe they just didn't like the art of digital filming and appreciate the older type of cameras, which capture things very differently than digital film, and they never mind.
All right, Joe Biden.
Okay.
I had a bit, and I'm just like, this isn't working. Let's go on. Forget about the bit.
Just a couple of gal pals.
Mm-hmm.
That's the takeaway of everyone else from this that didn't watch the rest of it.
Yep. Ideal level of horny.
No.
I mean, if they were,
I disagree.
they should have been fucking like day 2.
Yeah, they waited so long. They waited until they got the 6 extra days. Like that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but here's how this movie can still win Best Picture.
That's my girl is one of their tags.
This was the Parasite year, by the way, is when
I also like bruh.
Yeah.
I was like bruh.
And this came out a couple months before Parasite did, so it got kind of overshadowed.
It was Parasite, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Jojo Rabbit. Like it was a tough year.
Fuck all those movies. This one.
And I kind of I completely missed this movie even existing. So
there you go. Too busy watching Ford versus Ferrari, probably.
Yeah, I think I've never seen that.
Oh wait,
that's the same one.
Watch me watch it tonight.
Maybe
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Oh, yeah,
I too enjoy a pipe smoke naked in front of the fire.
That's TMI, Greg.
It's not cool when you do it, Greg.
No one asked you, Greg.
Nobody wants to see that, Greg.
I can't see how hot he is in the picture. So, yeah.
We'd have to really zoom in to figure out if we want to see that.
You're
Anyway, those are
the worst, Greg, weren't you?
Use your imagination, Greg.
Because, okay, I guess I'd see that. Yeah.
Greg getting potentially roasted on a show he probably doesn't know he's on. Anyway, those are the Letterboxd one-liners for Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
I hope it's my ex-boyfriend. I dated a Greg once. Wouldn't that be something?
That would indeed be something. Erica.
Did he sit in front of the fire naked with his pipe?
I never saw him do that. He was pretty lame.
All right.
It was high school, you know.
You can follow the show, Movie Night Extravaganza, which is your host, Forrest, over there. Please do so. I, of course, am Conan Neutron. You can follow me as well. I'm all over the Letterboxd site. Another person all over the Letterboxd site is Mr. J. Andrew World this way. I always do that. Who's watching all of the, I don't know, baffling?
I can't point to you, I don't think.
Yeah. I'm baffled sometimes why I'm watching a film. But, here I am watching Alien versus Predator Requiem.
Yeah, and I am baffled by that. Yeah, that's great. Right about now, too. Erica Strout, Also on the Letterboxd, not as active as some, but more active than some.
Okay, I
folks.
started out real strong, and I'm coming back.
It's okay. It's not like it's not like a requirement.
We're not going to fire you from the show if you.
I worked 0 in January, so I had a lot of time.
We're gonna
in
dock your
January
pay. Yeah,
to watch sci-fi films. Okay, yeah, no.
Marina, I think you're very busy on other places of the internet. No. I'm not doing that.
I don't watch movies. No.
I respect that you're standing your ground, ma'am.
That was from the Letterboxd sponsorees.
That was a great dismissal. That you're like, no. Like, I love it.
She's like, I can't do another ad. I can't do another website.
Normally,
no,
this
we're
is
not
when we
doing that.
really guess to join, but we're not going to with that. No.
And of course, J. Andrew World is going to take us away with the plugs.
Yes, if you are watching us right now on the Twitch, the Twitch. I don't know why I said the Twitch.
All right, Grandpa.
Twitch, yes.
Well, you didn't even get this sentence where I started roasting him.
Man, I don't even have my list up because I forgot to do that. But
well done. Yeah, you're too busy talking about Doctor Who episodes, huh?
Yes. But yeah, subscribe if you can. That helps us out. And if you happen to have an Amazon Prime membership, you can subscribe to our channel for free, and we'll love you for that. Either way. So
who doesn't have one of those?
Yeah, I actually don't, but that's okay.
Oh, I don't either. I just thought I would say it. Okay.
Just sound like a sassy thing to say, and you went for it. I appreciate that.
I love it. Yes. Also, if you're watching us over on YouTube, do the YouTube things like subscribe, comment, hit the bell. And one kind of important thing to let us be discovered by other movie fans, watch the video to the end. I know that sometimes is a big ask, but you got that great song by Conan Neutron that's going to play right at the end. So there you go. If you don't appreciate using your eyeballs, if they're just tired at the end of the day, maybe you want to go off and work out. This podcast is available in audio form, and you can find it on wherever you get your podcasts. So please rate and review wherever that might be.
I'm going to rate you 1 star better on that bit than it was last time.
I'm working on it. It's gonna
because when you first said if you don't like using your eyeballs, I'm like, what is he? What? Like I didn't quite get it, but you kind of like, oh, no, it's you're moving towards like the podcast. All right, I get it.
Yeah.
I was for the record, I was with you.
Yeah, I was.
You didn't hear him do it last time. It was pretty rotten. Anyway,
This is the first time.
It's like if you don't like using your eyeballs or whatever.
You're looking at us.
I also try to be. I like being encouraging.
Appreciate that. That's not my role in this show. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But we also have a Patreon. With the Patreon, you can have access to the after party shows forever.
And is everyone coming on for the after party?
Oh yeah.
I'm in. Yeah. Marina.
I have got to go eat something.
No pressure.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Sad but fair.
It's fair.
Sad but fair.
Sorry.
All I have to do tomorrow is fly to Milwaukee. So.
Yeah, exactly. They go into
That's it.
Yeah, big deal.
Nothing else. Not even one other thing.
I'm gonna practice saving the merch table tonight. By the way, it's a real. I got a real evening planned ahead of me.
And once you're done, I'll say.
Oh, we could talk about it in the after party.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, we can talk about Let's talk about Conan though, because Conan has a great show called Platonic Reversal. I can't remember. I'm sorry. My move is gotten me confused. Do you have an episode this week?
Hell no, we're gonna be on tour. I'll probably pick some from the archives. I don't know what yet. But.
Yeah. I was gonna pick something to recommend to people. So I guess I'll go with since he did an album based on a French singer, Mick Harvey was interviewed once. And
it's a good episode.
Yeah, I know.
And Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Birthday Party, so many great bands.
Crime of the City Solution.
Yep. He was in his sweatpants when I interviewed him, but I did not use the video because I didn't want to destroy his image. So, but I saw Mick Harvey in his sweatpants, y'all. The internet is not all bullshit.
But so I'm going to recommend people track that in that episode because that's I said I still haven't listened to it, but probably after I move on.
But I'm sure it's great. Yeah.
It's Mick Harvey, so how bad could it be?
It is. It actually is, but it's just hilarious. He still won't listen to it.
Uh-huh.
But Conan also makes music himself, not just talking to musicians. Such as the new album Dangerous Nomenclature, which you can find on his Bandcamp. So if you Google search or whatever your chosen search engine may be,
do a Goog.
Yeah,
you can go ask Jeeves all about it.
Yeah, ask Jeeves, and he will take you. Bandcamp, Conan Neutron, and it'll get you there.
You go to Bing.com. and then Google search Dangerous Nomenclature by Conan Neutron and see what happens.
How do I get to DuckDuckGo?
But you can also subscribe to Protonic Reversal on YouTube. Oh, except the Patreon. There's a Patreon for Protonic Reversal, and you get the episodes when there's a new episode a day early. So that's, or at least a day early.
Almost more like a week early at this point. Yeah. But true. All those things you said are true.
And the YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube.
Look, Greg, I don't know you. Okay, I don't know. You want to talk on? We can talk about it if you want. We can talk it out.
Fantastic. Why all the hate? Great.
I don't.
I have no notes. Excellent
I'm not
comment.
saying that I hate you. I just don't know. I'm saying I don't know. Who is this Greg person?
I don't know.
I like his attitude.
I do want to actually. I have one sort of leaping, merging plug here. So Conan's going on tour with Erica, and so you can catch them live.
More like I'm going on tour with him.
Whatever.
Semantics, but sure.
Yeah. We all know who the real star is. But anyways,
Tony quits the show.
It's Greg. Greg is the real star. Anyway.
Greg, yes,
he is now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. We elevated Greg quite a bit.
But yeah, you have tour dates coming up in Atlanta and some other cities I can't remember because I'm moving.
Well done. 1 out of 4. I'll give you a 25% score on that. That's good. Yeah.
Is it because I live in Atlanta? Is that why you were like, oh,
I live in Atlanta
it's Indianapolis, Louisville, Nashville, and Atlanta. I have it written here in my notes.
I've never been to, I've never lived in the 3 other cities, so
Wait, which one have you lived in?
Atlanta.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I grew up in Marietta.
Oh, well, that's not Atlanta.
Well,
you want to get semantical.
Yeah. But the outsiders, like I say that.
You're really making.
I know. I'm teasing you.
We're really making these plugs into a 15-minute bit.
Yes.
I love
Is there anything else you wanted to plug though that I might not be aware of? Oh wait, you have that new music video that you did.
Oh
for,
yeah,
Conan.
I guess they do. Yeah,
that I want to plug.
Yeah,
I think we're still on mine. Sorry.
Technically,
I don't know who we're plugging. If we're plugging me, then
we're
yeah.
plugging you. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to plug?
Well, technically, it's both because you art directed, edited that video, the Dark Passengers video, right?
That's true. Yeah,
it's a joint plug.
Yeah, it was a joint effort.
Just like the tour dates.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I also just worked on the trailer for a movie called As Above, So Below, and
good title.
I think I'm really excited about it. I feel like we did some really great work. We had a great crew, and if anybody wants to check it out or donate or anything, you can find it on Instagram. So yeah, other than that, yeah, that Conan video we did. I keep trying to. I really want to be able to just point at people, and it's it takes more.
Yeah, you're
backwards.
It's no, it's over here.
It's a lot of practice.
To me, you feel like you're here, but that's Forrest.
I would say it's the most befuddling bit for people who only listen on the podcast, but we watch a lot of foreign language films and play clips from them, of which nobody summarizes them. So that's definitely the most baffling part.
That's my favorite.
And the second most baffling part is when
my favorite bit is torturing our audio listeners into making them watch the video version.
Exactly. Which why wouldn't you? Yeah. This is a delightful show and full of beautiful people.
And we also, speaking of beautiful people, we should probably have Marina's plugs because you have a YouTube channel. And
have YouTube.
I should have written this down. I apologize.
It's okay.
You really
can find me on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. That's where I'm at.
And Marina is delightful, and we love her very much, and love when she's on the show.
What do we search to find you on those platforms?
just Marina Dove. You'll
Marina
find
Dove.
me.
Okay.
Marina's
Wood
there.
nymph at large.
Marina's
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah, the orange hair, the green dress. I'm into
It's
it.
hard to miss. Yeah.
Mm.
It's hard That's good.
I don't know. Sometimes with the red lights, it does get a little hard because
Stevie, don't get me started.
The first like 10
Do you know
episodes
how
of the
chaotic
show.
that would be?
The first 10 episodes of the show had like a 9-person
It looked like fucking Hollywood Squares, and I wish I was kidding.
I think the most that I've been on was 6, and that still felt like
Yeah, Jim
that
J.
felt
Bullock
nuts.
over here, you know?
That's
Like,
a lot.
Yeah, that's a little crazy.
It's too much.
But you know, going backwards
Start your own podcast, Stevie.
through Andy's plugs, I guess. Starting with Marina, final thoughts, anything you want to bring up or that we didn't get to, or
you know, this was a movie about the female gaze, GAYS. And so I'm just like, I'm really happy that it exists.
all right. Le female gaze.
Le female
Erica?
gaze, yeah.
That would be a great Letterboxd one-liner, by the way. I know you just proclaimed that you will not be on that site.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll have to do that.
Just for that.
Marina, don't give in. Conan is the reason
I'm
that I joined Letterboxd.
Trying to be strong.
Yeah, don't resist. Le résistance.
It's a good joke.
So it's funny because I was like, okay, in preparation for this episode that we're doing right now, I had a friend that we watch movies together sometimes, and I was like, hey, I need to watch Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It's this lesbian period drama that I need to watch for this podcast. Do you want to watch it? And he was like, lesbian period drama. He was like, I don't know. And I was like, yeah, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna watch. I've seen it before. It's really good, actually, but okay. And so
a
then
bunch
I
of
started
lesbians
thinking
get their
about other
period. It's really
ways.
dramatic. Yeah.
Well, no,
I mean,
lesbian
that's-
She does get a she
I'm
does get
so
her
glad that you
period.
caught on to
Yeah,
that because I was like,
she doesn't get her
lesbian
period.
period
That
drama.
really
Like,
is
how many ways can you
Monthly.
interpret that?
There is some drama. You're
Subtitle
right.
said monthlies.
Not necessarily, but you know, like, you know, it's like this is the lesbian period drama that I can get behind for sure. So I really appreciate the like artistic, like I said, attention to detail. Like Celine Sciamma, she did a fantastic job, and I also can't wait to explore more of her catalog for sure.
Hell yeah.
Conan. Le Conan.
Conan
Yeah.
Neutron.
I took German. Sorry. Yeah, this film is deeply immersive, absolutely stunning. Every scene, like I said, feels like a painting practically. It's the slowest burn and the deepest fire, right? It's the usage of color in this is incredible, and it's just a very well made film. It's the script is well written, taut. The performances are amazing, and as I mentioned, it's almost entirely female. You just have the crushing weight of the patriarchy at all points of the film, and it doesn't go out of its way to show that to you. It's just there as a character. So it's like, again, when you see that dude at the table, you're just like,
men in this house.
What's a man doing in here?
I mean, it's subtle but intense, and like honestly, I find this movie to be incredibly beautiful, heart-wrenching, and somewhat breathtaking. And we didn't even get into like all of like any of the quotes from it, but I mean, there's a laundry list of them, and it's great.
And I have a laundry list of the quotes right here in front of me.
I don't doubt it.
I guess you're gonna have to subscribe for the after party.
Exactly, to hear all the quotes read out aloud. I think that this is another example. So I, of course, am the one who pushed this in for this month, and I stand by my assessment. This is another one I got off the Criterion challenges that I tend to do, and like stop about like 40% in and like do other stuff. But like those 40% that I get are quality. They're quality movies, and again, if this movie hadn't come out the same year as Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Parasite and all these other like huge like marquee films, I think it would be like a shoo-in for at least a Best Picture nomination, if not Best Picture. And I'm absolutely overjoyed to see what she does next and to go back and dig through the archives, because it's a very, very well directed film. I'm really glad we talked about it.
Yeah, I co-sign that, and I want to go back and see some of her stuff too. Andy, do you have anything else to say about art history and
Doctor Who episodes?
Yeah. No, I don't think I have any other Doctor Who episodes to bring up. But there was that one with no, never. No, this is great because a lot of times you don't always know what you can like art history. I think is important because you can learn a lot about society and history and culture through ways whenever you study it, not just the paintings but the stories behind the paintings, and the stories behind the paintings can teach you stuff. And this whole movie is like a story behind a painting, and which is my favorite thing. And the director's right, this is very universal, because even though it's about two lesbians in the 18th century, it also felt like relationships I've been in that have lasted for a short time but felt like eternity leading up to it. So there's a certain beauty to this
universality, right? Like
it's like, even though like I don't see myself in the characters, I can find myself in the story at the same time. And they need to make more movies like that, really. Less like Aliens versus Predator Requiem.
And those are your only two options. Those are the only two options you have for movie making.
Yes.
Well, I'll say join us in the armpit trip after party, which we didn't bring that up.
We didn't even talk about that. Amazing.
But that literally is what I call the after party. My final quote is, "I feel something new. Regret."